Do your consumer marketing efforts feel complicated? Experian Automotive delivers data-driven marketing solutions to find new customers and keep loyal ones. Drive measurable results with trusted data and expert support. Learn more at Experian.com/automotive.
Welcome to this weekend drive edition of Daily Drive for the fourth week in September 2025. I'm Kellen Walker in Las Vegas. We're breaking down some of the biggest stories in the auto industry from the past week and looking forward to what's in store in the days ahead. Joining me today is Larry Velaquette. He covers Toyota and Subaru for us at Automotive News. Larry Legend, welcome back to Daily Drive.
What's up, Kel? How are you doing this week?
I'm good, buddy. And Richard Truitt covers JLR and engineering. Richard, welcome to the show.
Yep, thanks.
We're finally starting to get some updates this week about what's going on with JLR in the wake of a cyber attack that forced it to shut down production in the UK. Richard, what did we learn this week?
We learned several important facts. Number one is that JLR is not going to run out of vehicles in the U.S. at any time soon. They've got about 20,000 vehicles on the ground or in transit. That's good news in one respect and maybe not so good news in another. A big chunk of JLR's business is when ultra-rich guys and women go to their stores and custom order six-figure Range Rovers with all sorts of exotic materials and stuff. Well, until they get their factories back up online, that business is shut. There won't be any custom orders for a while. And those are some of the most profitable vehicles they make. And the other big thing that we learned is that not only have vehicle production been stopped for a month, but there's been no parts shipped. And so in the UK and some of their other markets, dealers are scrambling to get customers' vehicles fixed and out the door. And they've been doing that by trading parts and selling and bartering among themselves to do the best they can. Over here, this is Land Rover and Jaguar Land Rover's biggest market. And so we're not going to have that problem, thankfully, because they've got 5 warehouses spread all over the country with months and months worth of parts. So it looks like we're going to dodge some of the bigger bullets that have hit elsewhere.
You know, there was a time where if you bought a Jag, right, it used to come with its own tow truck.
Or they would say that you needed 2, one for when you could drive it and one that's in the shop.
Yeah.
But actually, Larry's joking makes a good point. There's a metric that we use called UIO, that's units in operation. And JLR has 1.3 million units on the road in the US. About 800,000 of those are still under warranty. And JLR's quality ratings, shall we say, have been scraping the bottom for a very long time. So there's a constant demand on those parts in the warehouses. But it looks to me like they're going to be okay because just today the news came out that they were starting to ship parts again.
So is it safe to say they're completely out of the woods?
No, not at all, Kel, because one thing that JLR constantly wrestles with is recalls. They've had 4 this year. If there's a recall, say tomorrow, on some safety item that needs to be re-engineered, that's going to take a long time to get here because Jaguar's supplier network has been down for a month. And it's not like you can just flip a switch and everybody goes back to work and turns on the machinery. And it takes a lot of prep to get everything, all the supplies ordered and in and everything up and running and for the quality to be right. So no, they're still in a pretty perilous situation, if you ask me.
You guys need to throw in a drop there of turn those machines back on. Turn those machines back on.
Well, Larry, this is for you. Stellantis also reported that it was also the victim of a data breach at a third-party provider for North American customers. Stellantis says that it only compromised basic contact info, no financial details or sensitive personal data. Now, Larry, what do you make of all these attacks against auto companies and the fallout?
Well, so here's what we know. Criminals, no matter who they are, tend to focus on places where there is money, right? And this industry has money. It may not have very many other things, but it does have money. It is a very capital intensive industry, top to bottom. And that makes it a very attractive target for criminals around the globe. And we saw this with CDK. We will continue to see this. And until we figure out a way to shut all of that stuff down, it's going to keep happening. And so it's up to companies to be vigilant. And here, if you notice, right, this is a third-party vendor that got hacked. You are only as defended as your weakest link, right? That same axiom holds true in cybercrime as it does in, guarding your perimeter and when you're in the army. You are only as strong as your weakest link. And it only takes one person. We've seen this over and over again. It only takes one person to screw up on an email, right? To figure out that an email isn't legit.
Right.
And suddenly the wolves are in the chicken coop.
That's interesting. That's a good point.
I guess those would be coyotes in the chicken coop, but whatever.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Well, let's talk a bit about the battle that seems to be brewing over the EPA's emissions rules. So earlier this year, the agency proposed getting rid of the endangerment finding that gave the EPA the power to regulate greenhouse gases. Now, this week, the Alliance for Automotive Innovation sent a letter saying it wants the EPA to ease those restrictions, but not to nix the endangerment finding altogether. Later in the week, Tesla asked the Trump administration not to repeal vehicle emission standards or the longstanding U.S. finding that greenhouse gas emissions endanger human health. What do you both make of this? Larry, let's start with you.
What I make of it is I'm glad I don't live in Florida at 2 feet above sea level. Right? It's yet another reason not to live in Florida. To me, I wrote a column earlier this year, was supposed to be sarcastic, right? But we don't live in a time where sarcasm is recognized, apparently. Encouraging the incoming Trump administration, just burn it all down. Just take away all the regulations. And why do we need regulations? We don't need them. We'll just let people buy what they want and build what they want. And to hell with the environment, because we'll be dead by the time any of the stuff comes to fruition. And I don't own any real estate in Florida, so what do I care?
Real quick, Larry,
it goes underwater.
Real quick, respectively to our Florida listeners, he's joking. It's respectively.
Joking.
Okay, Larry, go ahead.
It's a rhetorical device. Okay. And it was sarcastic, because of the danger of doing this. I mean, all these automakers, from a purely business standpoint, all these automakers have spent hundreds of billions of dollars over the years, making their cars better, making them more fuel efficient, lowering the emissions. I mean, all you had to do is see a picture of Los Angeles from 1973 and one today, where you can actually see Los Angeles as opposed to then, to know that we've made progress and we are continuing to make progress. And to throw it all away is the height of idiocy. But to me, the real thing is that it makes the American auto industry, the U.S. auto industry, uncompetitive globally, because the rest of the world isn't doing this. China's not doing this. China's leaving us in the dust. And even Europe is the advances that have been made. The administration wants to throw all that away. I don't see the logic of it.
Larry has it pretty much nailed, Cal. And I would just say that mostly it's just noise in the machine, because as Larry said, the investments have been made and the public demand for cleaner vehicles is going to drive this more than any kind of repealing of regulations. What might happen is, will it slow down investments in new technology? In the interim, it might, but the next time we have a regime change here and we get some more, how can I say this diplomatically?
Fresh leadership.
Sensible people in Washington, D.C., then we'll start moving the ball forward again on cleaner vehicles. But really, I just think it's mostly noise in the system, because as Larry mentioned, we're not going to be globally competitive if we don't have clean vehicles. And even though the Detroit automakers have lost considerable ground overseas in places like Eurasia and Europe and South America to Chinese automakers and others, we still have to be competitive globally, and we will be. And making clean cars is part of that.
Good stuff, guys. So coming up, federal EV tax credits are set to expire next week. Plus, we'll talk about the passing of the father of the Miata, Tom Matano. That's next on Weekend Drive.
Automotive News Shift podcast brings you the latest on automotive technology, trends, and transformation. I'm Hannah Lutz.
And I'm Molly Boygon. We're the new co-hosts of Shift, and we're excited to bring you new conversations with experts and industry insiders like this one with Larry Dominique. president of LD Management Consulting.
I do believe the legacy OEMs are falling into a trap. They've got to find a way to, in some ways, build a new airplane while they're still in flight.
Catch Shift, available every Sunday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Are you an automotive marketer navigating today's rapidly evolving landscape? Finding new customers and nurturing existing relationships can feel like a complex journey. But what if you had a powerful engine fueled by trusted data to guide your way? That's where Experian Automotive comes in. We understand the challenges you face. Today's personalized consumer journeys demand intelligent planning and precise execution. That's why we offer the Experian Marketing Engine, a coordinated suite of data-driven solutions designed to help you develop, execute, and most importantly, measure effective marketing campaigns. At the heart of our solutions is Experian's trusted data and a dedicated automotive team committed to your success. We empower you to drive measurable results with unique data insights, including identity solutions to help you better connect with your ideal customers with greater accuracy by cleaning and enriching your first-party data. Consumer and market insights helps you gain a deeper understanding of market trends and consumer behavior, enabling you to better target consumers. Targeted audiences to help you pinpoint and target the right prospects at the right time with the right message. Better data truly connects you to better results. Stop guessing and start driving measurable impact with Experian Automotive. Ready to transform your automotive marketing? Visit Experian.com/automotive to learn how our data-driven solutions can help you find new customers, keep loyal ones, and navigate the road ahead with confidence. That's Experian.com/automotive. Take control of your marketing journey today.
Welcome back to Weekend Drive. I'm Kellen Walker with Larry Veliquette and Richard Truitt. So guys, next week, the $7,500 EV tax credit goes away under the GOP's new tax and spending law. Larry, if you had to predict, do you think EVs have enough momentum to eventually become the dominant powertrain in the future, regardless of the tax credits? Or do you think this dooms them to being a relatively small segment of the U.S. market?
Well, Cal, I'll tell you what, I think we're pulling the plug at the exact wrong time because we don't really have broad acceptance yet. What we're seeing right now, this month, this weekend is the ultimate clearance sale at dealerships around the country, right? For anybody that wants an EV, you don't want to wait till Wednesday because that's when payday is. You want to be there today signing the damn contract. Otherwise, it's going to cost you a bunch of money.
That might be me, Larry, because I might go get a new car this weekend, actually.
Well, you know what? And why wouldn't you? Exactly. You'd be silly not to. I mean, they're giving away free money, and Wednesday, the spigot turns off. So, from that standpoint, we are seeing this incredible run. And we ultimately, EVs are going to have to stand on their own, right? Everybody knew this. Everybody knew it going in. It was a good technology, but it was never going to be, you're never going to have 100% penetration just because the technology is not going to be there for certain places and certain use cases out in, across this vast, varied, geographically varied land. So I think what we're going to see is EVs are going to stand on their own and they're going to be hobbled for a long time. The technology will still advance. And so when the next technological advance comes, the solid state battery, whatever it is, and the price comes down and we're almost at parity now. EVs are ultimately cheaper, right? And they're not going to need the subsidy eventually. They still need it now.
Kel, this is one of those rare occasions where Larry and I don't quite see eye to eye.
What?
And we've
been arguing for 15 years.
Let me tell you why. People who drive EVs tend to really, really like them. They are not going to go back to gasoline. Yes, the $7,500 tax incentive is a nice carrot, but if we heard at the recent Automotive News World Congress, a number of experts say they still see EVs continuing to grow. And if you look at the number of nameplates that are coming out in the next few years, there's going to be a flood of them because a lot of automakers have invested, and it takes years for a vehicle to go through the product development system and hit the market. And we're just going to start hitting their stride here in the next couple of years. I think my colleague and dear friend Larry has forgotten one thing about dealers. Yeah, the price is basically going to go up $7,500, but dealers know how to sell stuff. They'll figure out attractive leases. They'll come up with longer loans. They'll get that monthly payment exactly where they need it to sell EVs. Do I think they're going to slow down a little bit? Yeah. But I can tell you that this week I test drove the new Nissan Leaf over at the Nissan Technical Center, and I wrote about it coming up in Cars and Concepts Tuesday. It starts at 29 grand. And I have to tell you that vehicle is fantastic. People are not going to be thinking about the $7,500 tax credit when they drive that. They're going to want to buy it. It's really, really nice. And that's the first of a bunch of really great EVs that are out there. Hyundai, Kia, the new Chevrolet Bolt is coming. So no, I think EVs are going to continue to grow. Maybe not at the rate that we've seen, but they're not going anywhere. Larry?
I will
Prove
say,
me wrong.
Yeah. I will say this. If I have a blind spot, it's that I always believe that everyone is as cheap as I am. Right? The thrifty is I tell people I'm the weight I am because I'm the kind of guy that'll go to a candy machine and buy something I don't like if there's a chance that two of them will fall. Right? I'm hunting for the deal.
You squeeze water out of a buffalo nickel?
Oh yeah, exactly. If there's an advantage to it, and if I can get buffalo nickels cheap, then exactly. So I think that Richard's probably right that there are certainly people who will choose this technology because it is a great driving experience and it's cheaper to operate and it's cheaper to maintain. It is a valuable technology going forward. It's just the adoption rate. If we go back to where, they can, if I can start offering, if I can get a Dodge Charger for 26 grand suddenly, because it's got an old iron block V8 that they had a bunch of them left over or something, then yeah, you know what? I'm probably going to buy that and just eat the gas for a while. But if you look at the long-term fuel usages in the US, gasoline usage is not going up. Hasn't been for several years, right? We talked about remember peak oil, right? Where peak oil all of a sudden was about 12 years ago or so. Yeah, it was peak oil. It was just peak oil usage. It wasn't peak production.
Right.
So I don't think they're going to turn around those long-term trends.
Well, Richard, before we go, you wrote an obituary for us at Automotive News about Tom Matano, probably best known as the father of the Mazda Miata, who died September 20th, just days before his 78th birthday. Talk about his career and legacy.
Boy, this one really hits home because Tom and I were Facebook friends, and I saw him a few times at car shows. And informally, I knew Tom, but I could count about every December 23rd getting a Christmas greeting from him every single year. And that might not seem like much, but let me tell you, Tom was the kind of guy who just loved people. And he wanted to create a car that brought people together. And that's exactly what the Mazda Miata has done. There are car clubs and amateur racers who every weekend take their cars out and enjoy them. And even though Tom had long ago retired from Mazda, he would go to these events and he would meet with people and he would talk about the car. He loved that car as much as everybody else did. It's a really rare thing to create a car like the Miata. And it's one of those cars that's just more than a collection of rubber and steel and glass. It makes people happy. It gives them a hobby. It's more than just a way to get to work. And Tom, just like the 65 Mustang and certain Corvettes and other really cherished cars, the Miata was just one of those cars, and still is, that people just love.
Richard, you're not wrong. That is a vehicle that just, it defies description, right? It is, people absolutely love it, and they will hold on to them and they will buy old ones and they don't care just to put that top down and drive around with the wind blowing through their hair. It is such a tight little machine and so much fun.
We live here in Detroit and we get to meet some of the executives and we get to see how passionate some of them are. But if you're away from Detroit or a place that builds cars, the people who make cars are just kind of nameless, faceless people who you really don't get to see their passion. But I went and looked at some of the tributes that people had written about Tom. And if you have a minute, Kel, can I just read some of them?
Yeah.
So it'll help us get a better understanding and the sense of who Tom was. Okay. I am sad for the world. We lost an innovator, an inventor, an artist, and above all, a teacher. Tom valued his time teaching his students and said he would never want to do anything else. He truly felt it. Where he was where he was meant to be. That was from a student that Tom taught at the Art Academy of San Francisco. After his car design career ended in 2002, he began teaching design at the Art Academy, and he was still working up until recently. His gentle voice and patience was what made him a great teacher in the industrial design group. A business group I was in had a Miata lover in the group, and when I found out I knew Tom, he was all fanboy, and the businessman persona melted away. He wanted to know if I could introduce him to his car club. Tom's fame never went to his head. He was nice enough to talk to anyone about the work he did. And there's just tribute after tribute after tribute about Tom. He was, this might sound like a terrible caricature, but when I think of soft-spoken, wise Japanese guys, I always think of Mr. Miyagi and the Karate Kid. Tom was kind of like that. He was like this wise old soul who just loved people and loved to help improve people. He is just one of those guys whose mark in the auto industry is going to be felt for decades to come.
No, great point, guys, because if you don't like a Miata, I can't trust you. Straight up. Like, that's the adult go-kart. I love that car, especially a manual Miata. Oh my gosh. Like, it's a go-kart. It's so much fun. Well, rest his soul. And guys, thank you so much for joining me on Weekend Drive.
It was great to be here, Kellen. I'm absolutely shocked that Larry and I agreed on something.
It's good to see you again, bud.
That is all for this Weekend Drive edition of Daily Drive. I'm Kellen Walker. Thanks to Automotive News executive producer Jake Neer for his help on today's podcast. You can get the latest news on electrification, cybersecurity, and everything happening in the auto industry at autonews.com. Come back on Monday for a conversation with experts about how they expect U.S. sales to fare in the last quarter of 2025.
We wouldn't be seeing the economy drive off a cliff if the vehicle market is staying as strong as it is. So it makes me more optimistic rather than pessimistic.
We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think of the show and the topics we covered today. Send us an email at dailydrive@autonews.com or leave us a voicemail at 313-444-2774. If you enjoy the podcast, remember to like, leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.